Hello. Let's see. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great, great. Okay, we're moving a little late today. I had a meeting that I just finished, so I'm just getting set up right now, but we'll move quick to catch up. I heard a question.
Yeah, I have an issue with my Unity.
Okay, what you got going on?
The entire scene is pink.
The entire scene is pink.
Yeah, in the editor, everything's just pink.
It just turned pink, or has it always been pink?
It's just as soon as I open the kit, it's just pink.
That's not good. Let's see what we can do. I have not come across that, so.
I looked it up and I tried to fix it, but it didn't work.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I saw that one. I've seen this before, but there's many different solutions. The one that you probably, let's see, is there one from, yeah, I don't see anyone having this issue with the latest build. I see some from 2017 where it was happening.
Yeah, I saw one from 2018.
Yeah, 2019 Unity editor becomes completely pink. Same issue. This is the solution to the problem. Okay, I see someone listed a solution. Let me put that. I have not tried the solution, so don't quote me on this, but let's see if this helps you. I've not had this problem, so, but check out that solution. Yeah.
Mine's kind of different. Like, it's not the entire editor, it's just the scene.
Okay. What else? Probably, let's see. Check out this one as well. And while you're looking at that, William, you said you still doesn't have any assets or scenes, and that is after you closed it and then tried to re-download, or no?
Yeah, that's after I closed it and opened it again. So what I'm trying to do now is, instead of 2019.4, I'm going to go 2019.2 and see if that works.
Yeah, 2019.4 should work, because that's actually what I'm using.
Yeah, that's the one I was using for it. It's not working.
All right, well, let me stop recording 1 second. I'm gonna stop recording, but then cannot minimize. I'm not trying to minimize.
This is the video I already tried. It didn't work.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at that. I see the issue. I'm not seeing a fix that seems to work outside of that one. I see one that ran into this issue, blah, blah, blah. Take a look at this one too. I have not read through this one either, so take a look at that one, see if that solves your problem. It might very well be the same thing. It looks like this has to do with shaders, and whether they're built for Android. That's the solution that I saw. this is just from imported assets. So,
Yeah.
so what I think you could do safely is,
Should I try opening just a blank scene and see if it's still like that?
yeah, I'm pretty sure you open a blank scene, this won't happen because this is just related to assets. But then that won't let you go through the tutorial with us unless you created your own, you know, game to follow along with, or found another game that's publicly available. And that I can do for you. If it's just an asset issue, we probably could figure out what asset's the problem and get rid of it, and then go on from there. But that sounds like a lot of unnecessary work.
Yeah, there's a lot of assets.
Yes. Yeah, that's not a good answer. All right. I hate to get started because I do want to deal with this particular problem. But let's get started, and we'll work offline and try to fix that. And then William, yours. So try that solution that you just mentioned.
Yeah, I just tried it, and now, yeah, it doesn't work now.
Yeah, I figured it wouldn't. Yeah, you need to be on the latest version for that to work.
Okay.
Let me think about that, and toward the end, I'll try to see if there's something I can come up with. All right. Okay. So I'm getting Unity started here. So let me do that. Okay. My Unity is starting up. So just give it a second, and we'll be up and running. And my apologies, I'm usually running and ready by the time you guys show up, but I have clients in the real world. I did want to show you a video while this is running, so let me quickly pop into that. I won't run it long because we need to actually write some code today. So I'm going to show the video while I am getting some other things going. You know what? Let's skip the video because it looks like it's going to be seven minutes, and I don't have 7 minutes. Okay, so, and I'm going to share my screen, not make the mistake we made last time. Okay, so here we're back in that game, and what we had done so far is we double-clicked on the creator kit C# file. You guys remember that? And what resulted was we got into Visual Studio. So that's where we were. That's where we ended off. And in Visual Studio, we started. So if you clicked on follow the tutorial, it should give you that where we were in that creator kit tutorial, and we had we were doing the kind of introduction to variables and all that stuff. Is this all ringing a bell? Good. I'm going to pull up the chat so I can see everyone's chat. And all right, so when we were like clicking around, we figured out that there's in level design, there's all this stuff, and there's a spawner sample that we were working with, and we were going to write some code about that particular instruction. Does everybody remember that? Cool. Why? So we clicked on Potion Spawner, and you noticed here, if you go down, scroll down to Spawner Sample, and you double click that, it opens up Visual Studio, at least it should. Once we've done that, then you should see the one particular project that we're working on. Everybody remember all that? So make sure we're all in the same spot. So what you should have when you click on that is this. This shows up.
Mate?
Yes.
Do we have to follow along on Visual Studio, or can we just watch it that way?
Don't follow along in Visual Studio. I don't want you to, because then you'll be lost. Just watch me.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Okay, yeah, don't do that. So, so we are doing this. If you wanna follow along the tutorial itself, this is exactly what we're doing, which is writing our own instruction. I'm just doing it faster and explaining the way I would explain it. All right. So we created a variable. Does anybody remember what variable means? I have only my main camera and directional lighting in my hierarchy. Let's see. So if you're inside of the project, so you're in your hierarchy and you get this example scene or no? Yes. And so you don't have any of this stuff in it? Okay. I got it. So you don't have this example scene. So what you should be is, yeah, you have to open the scene. Exactly. Got it. So good. So the example scene is this. And you do have to open the scene. Open scene. You can do it that way, or you can just open the scene by clicking on there. Everybody good with that? Okay. I'm assuming good. The answer is yes. Okay. Yeah, let me know, Dennis, if you have another problem. It sounds like Holden helped you. Yeah, but you should be in the example scene. I think I showed this the other day, how to get there. All right. So then what we did was we added. Now we're into coding, and I know this is probably going to be a little difficult, but we're adding variables to our code. And then in my case, I just added radius as a variable. And then I saved my changes already, which is Control S. And then now I'm going back to Unity. I'm going to play this game with the potion spawner and see what happens. All right, so there's a potion spawner now right next to my my person. And something's not right because it's actually supposed to spawn further away. Did I mess up something? Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, good. Good. Thanks, Gavin. For whatever reason, I thought it was supposed to be even further away than that, but the radius is set to 5. Let's just, for giggles, let's just change the radius and change it to something else. That way I can verify that that's true. So let's change it to like 20. Here it is, 20. Okay, yeah, it's gone. Perfect. So we know it's working. All right. For those of you that are not following along, if you have any problem with that, raise your hand. But what I basically did is and you can see there's a little bit of delay for while this takes in that new data refreshes. But they respond way farther away here. So what we want to do is you need to modify that so that it spawns where you want it to spawn. So now if I click play again, there they are, right there. Cool. All right, so I'm going to call that done. Thank you for those of you that have been following along. So what do we do here? We figured out where to find our scripts, right? And they're in something called CS files. And let me know, Dennis, if you weren't able to get back to the scene. I can help you with that. Okay, good. All right. So yeah, so we were able to spawn these potions, and very cool. So I'm going to try to like power through some of the rest of this tutorial, at least most of it, so that you get an idea of what else to go from here. So first thing, let's take a look in the editor here. There's a save state button. And what the save state button is, it saves specific versions of your file that you just edited if you want to. All right, so if you click on save state, that's what it's going to do. It's going to do that. If you want to go back to the way it was, then you click on this restore button. So I'm going to do that. Okay. And it'll take you back to the previous version if you want. And you see it's saving all of its versions here by date and version number and all of that. So this is something called source control. So that's something that you should get to know, is source control. I know it's a new concept, but I use source control all the time. Something called GitHub is what I use. William, I see you still have the unhappy face. So what I'm going to do is after this, let's set up some time to actually figure this out, because I don't want you to go too long without knowing, being able to follow along. Don't have an unhappy face, please. Okay. And I think because I know you and your parents, all you need to do is email me a time that you're available in the evening, and we'll work out how to fix this. Again, for anybody else having the same kind of problem. And then the problem that you're having, Holden, I'm going to have to look into that in further detail, because I feel like there's a solution. I need to have the problem on my machine in order to identify the solution, which is easy to do. Okay. All right. So we're going to keep going with this. And let's see. So we have these 4 potions on our screen at the kind of the game start. Let's see if I can make that a little bit more. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 right here on game start. They're right next to us. So we're gonna, you know, we've made some changes. We can change the position of them if we want. We can just like, you know, get to any of the potions that we want. And as we saw with the potion spawner there, we can make as many changes as we want to those potions. And you can see here is the kind of here's the sample. And here in Visual Studio, if I want, I can take a look at any of them. Actually, there are 3, so I'll make another one. I can create a new one just in Visual Studio. I can create many of them. And let's say let's make this you know, 25, and you know, I can create as many of these as I want. So let's create a whole nother one maybe, and let's make it 5. And remember, you're not breaking anything. So you know, I can start playing around with the radius, all these different things. Say 50. One thing you don't want to do is make sure that the if you have these curly brackets, as we call this here, make sure the open and closing brackets are the same. And then I can change all kinds of stuff around about this. So let's say I wanted to create a specific radius for the last one that I created. I can do something like this. It can't be the same name, right? Because it only understands one of these. So I have to say maybe radius 1, or maybe I'm going to call this special potion radius, and I'm going to call that 30. I don't know. Remember, semicolon there. And you'll see red lines show up when you've done something wrong. So let's do something that's wrong. Goo. That's wrong. There you go. You see it showed up a red line. And why it showed up in the next line is because it's trying to read this all, goo and this, as one thing. And then it's like, wait a minute, I don't know what goo vector 3 spawn position means, right? Okay. So let's call that. And then if I want to use this, I will go down to where radius is that I want to, you know, call this one radius special potion. And then I click on save, and you can see here that it highlights the variable wherever it finds it. Same thing here. If I click on radius, it highlights the variable wherever it finds it. Angle, you get what I'm saying. Okay, so let's save that. Control S, remember. Go back to Unity, and it is now updating in the background. So if I want to, I can just take a look at the script itself, and I can see that it added my all of my stuff in there. Now it moved it around because there's not enough screen room here, but this is actually what it looks like. So I can make it as small as possible and bigger. Your parents are gone for 4 days. Don't tell me that on live chat with everybody in the room. Okay, I will text your mom, William. Don't worry about it. All right, so yes, you can send me a recording of it if you want. Yes, I would probably need to see that. And I'll also, Holden, and I'll also look around the web for solutions to this particular problem. But it does look like it's an asset that's in this scene that's causing real difficulty to your machine. I'm happy, unfortunately, it happened to you, but I'm happy that it hasn't happened to multiple people, because then we have to stop and try to figure that out. All right, so I'm gonna play this again. And let's see, I don't see my new ones. I see just the 4 still. I'm sure they're there. Yeah, I don't see them. They got to be on the screen, but I also spawned them really far away, so maybe I'll have to walk around to figure out where they are. Okay. No big deal. Oh, there they are. Okay. So they're on the screen. All right. So great. So now what we want to do is we want to create a new potion. And actually, we already did this. It's if I follow the tutorial, it says create a new one, right? And we've already done that. So here we have now a fifth one. Let's call this one 40. And let's call this one 35. Let's call this one 25. 45. So if I wanted to spawn all of these different potions and I wanted to set up variables for each one, I'd have to create new ones for each one of these scenarios. I would have to go like, you know, here is a new one of these potions, and here's a new angle for this, and here's a new direction for this, on and on and on. I wrote this in code here. Typically, I wouldn't do that. I don't like to have any variables just written in code down here. It's because they're hard to see as this gets big. And let me explain that. When I'm writing code in the real world, these kind of files get to be gigantic. And there are many files, and they're all over the place. And it makes sense to have these kind of variable declarations all at the top rather than kind of sprinkled through here. And if I have declarations that go beyond the scope of something here, like this particular potion, then I want to have something called global declarations. I'll explain exactly what that is later on. But basically, those are variables that can be used by in multiple places. Okay, I know this is going to be challenging, so I'm just gonna kind of talk through this scenario rather than you know, have you try to figure this out on your own. But I understand that this is challenging. Okay. And then these directions, as you see here, I can change the direction by entering in, you know, anything I want here. The thing to do here is play around. So let's just change some of this stuff. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to put numbers in here and see what happens. And that's how you're going to figure out exactly what's going on with this script, is to kind of play around. So I encourage you all to mess around in here. Basically, you can't break anything. Like it says, you've created a copy of it already. So now they want us to talk about comments. So when I write code, I comment my code if I need to. Like if it's not really well understood what I'm trying to do, then I will write some comments about it. So like say like, let's say I wanted to change this to, I don't know, 100. Why did I do that? Well, I want this particular one to be, you know, my fifth potion spawn. Well, nobody's going to know that unless I write something like this, like I intended to do this thing. In C#, you write comments by these kind of forward slashes, 2 of them. You can also write comments in a different way. You can do this, open and close brackets. So if I had multiple line comments I wanted to make, I can also do it like that. So let's say I wanted to comment this whole thing out. I can do one or two things. I can highlight the whole thing, and I can click on Control / take that back, not in Visual Studio, can't do that. I could click on Control Shift Comment, and comments the whole thing. So Control Shift /, and to undo it, I can click on Control Shift / and it'll do it again. So there it is. Okay. Yeah. Everybody get that? Cool. That's comments. And I want to enter a comment anytime that I am writing something that I don't think is going to be understood by folks in my game. Cool. All right. So now let's talk about functions. I hope that all makes sense. And actually, let's just run it real quick, and then we'll talk about functions. Again, now it's updating. It's updated all my stuff directly from the file in Visual Studio. And let's play this. All right, you can see now it's only one health potion showing. The other ones have moved around to a place on the screen that I cannot find yet. I'm sure they're around here somewhere. And so I'm gonna look around. But I put in some really big numbers. So who knows where those potions went. Ah, what is this thing? What are you? I'm not ready for a boss. All right, I'm gonna pause that because I'm not really ready to fight a boss yet. But if I look around here, eventually I'm gonna find my potions. I put them pretty far away, but they're on the screen somewhere. Someone mute your audio, please. I have a stinking suspicion of who it is, but mute your audio. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and watch this introduction to functions. Yeah, I did. I put the potions in the air. They're up in the air. Yep. The Euler angle, I purposely did not talk about what a Euler angle is, but we will. And I changed the Euler angles, which is why they're not on the ground. We're not there yet.
Playing video games often requires repeating tasks over and over to reach your goals. But when a player needs to smash a barrel to find a love potion, it's important that the same thing happens every time. In coding, that means functions are sets or bundles of instructions that accomplish a specific task. Every programming language lets you create blocks of code that, when called, perform specific tasks. Functions encapsulate a task. That means they combine multiple instructions into a single line of code. Functions usually take input data, process it, and output a result. A llama eats grass, that's the input. Its body turns it into milk, that's the process part, and you get the milk, that's the output. Once a function is written, it can be used over and over. Functions can even be called from the inside of other functions. Most programming languages provide built-in functions that would otherwise require many steps to accomplish, for example, computing the square root of a number. In general, however, programmers don't really care how a function does what it does, only that it works. Let's look at an example of another function in action. Imagine your favorite song is a computer program. The chorus of the song, which is sung over and over again, is the function. That is, as long as the chorus doesn't change key or, say, repeat the final line. If that happens, functions also allow you to conceive your program as a bunch of substeps. Each substep is its own function. When any program seems too hard, just break the overall program into substeps. They allow us to reuse code instead of rewriting it. So what have you learned? Functions in code help programmers avoid writing lots of repetitive code. They are self-contained modules of code. And once a function has been written, it can be called over and over again.
All right, awesome. So that's cool. So we kind of have an idea what functions are. Basically, they can be used over and over and over again. So if I had let's say, if I wanted to let's restore this back to its original form. So let's say I wanted to, and let's maybe add another one of these. And put it at an angle of 10. Okay. Let's say that I had one of these, and I specifically did not talk about the Euler angle or the spawn position of this on purpose, because I want to get you guys comfortable with some other stuff, and then we're going to talk about all this stuff. And the word instantiate and all that mess. But I do want to talk about, it says the associated script cannot be loaded. Okay, Bryson, I will help you in a minute. Let me just get through this one little part. So here's a function called void start. Let's say I wanted to add another function. Let's add another function. Void means that there's nothing to return, and adding, sorry. There are code conventions, by the way, and we'll talk about that. But right now, we're not going to get into code conventions. We're just going to say that let's just talk that there are some, and I'll talk to you about what those are. So here's what I'm doing. I'm creating a function, and the function takes in parameters. What I mean by that is, if you look at what I just wrote, adding numbers, the input to adding numbers is two numbers. Here there is no input, so when it starts, it just starts. I could have inputted an angle and make it start with an angle already. In this case, I'm just going to add those two numbers, and I'm just going to copy this code because I'm too lazy to rewrite it. But here, the resulting number is this number plus this number, and it's going to have a resulting number. This variable that I just created doesn't go anywhere, like doesn't have an output. All I'm doing is saying I'm adding two numbers, and it's going to add those two numbers, and that's it. It's not going to tell me anything. And so that's the declaration of a variable. I'm sorry, of a function. So here it says void, means there's no return. If it had a return, I would say what kind of return it's going to have up here. So I'll explain that in more detail, but let's stick with what we got so far. So we talked about the curly braces. It separates out what's happening in this function, or the fact that it's a function by itself. And that pretty much is all there is. Okay, so if I wanted to use this function, then I would basically call it like such, like this. So in my start method that's already going to run, I would call it like something along the lines of adding numbers, and then I would call it like this. As you can see here, it tries to tell you or try to help you out in what the parts of that function should look like. So it says a float number 1, float number 2. So let's say 19.4, okay? And this is the floating point number, so I'm gonna add float. And don't worry about that. I know you don't know what that all is, but okay. So I just added a function, and I've used the function with real numbers. Okay. Don't play in the chat, please, Jasiri. Thank you. All right. So now, if I wanted to use this function again, I would just recall it, and it would use the same thing again. I could take the results of this and return it, and we're going to get into that soon. But just know this is the adding functions little bit that they want you to know about. This is how you add a function, and these are the results. This is how you return, if there's something to return or not. Okay. Okay, we're actually past that point in the tutorial, and now we're on to a little bit more, a little bit more difficult portion. So hold on to your hats. So we've created this function. We're going to actually just create a new one, and we're going to call it spawn potion. So we're actually going to create a function that spawns a potion. Okay. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, we know that to create a potion, that it needs all this stuff. It needs the angle, direction, blah, 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 number, whatever it is, initial position. And what we've done is we've created these potions programmatically. So we just we just copied and pasted this to create the potion. Well, what we want to do is we want to create a potion using the system. So what we're going to do here is say create a function called spawn potion. And that takes in an integer called angle. Same thing as we did before up here, except we're actually just going to allow you to pass in an angle and create the function. Everybody cool with that? All right. Any questions? Reserve the chat for questions and not emojis and whatever else you're trying to do there. Okay. So then I'm going to take that. Again, we're professional coders now, by the way. So then I'm going to take that thing that we were copying before, and I'm going to just drop it in here. So now what's going to happen is when I call spawn potion and I give it an angle, it's going to give me back a potion every time. You already get that? Everybody get it? Cool. Okay, now we're going to talk about a little bit about where these items are spawned. So yes, we have this thing that we've been copying and pasting for a while. Now we're going to break down the actual, what is actually in here. Does anybody know what a vector is?
A vector is like when you make a 3D game, the vectors align to make the 3D object.
Yep, kind of. So yeah, that's a good definition. So a vector is basically a line with a direction. So or a point with a direction, and typically it's a line. That's right, line with it end of an angle. First time I heard you, Edric. Let me make sure I got that right. That is it, right? It is a line in a direction. So when you're thinking of like aircraft, and let me see if I can find one real quick. So if I think of like an aircraft, and it's my favorite analogy whenever I'm speaking, I think in aircrafts because I'm a pilot. Did I say that already? Probably did a couple hundred times. I think about something like this. So the Euler angle, and this is an interesting kind of concept, is basically the direction of which something is pointed in 3D space. So in the aircraft world, we think of pitch, yaw, and roll. You don't need to know that here, but it is, see this airplane is actually not horizontally level. It is facing upward, and kind of like if I use my finger, my mouse to kind of point the direction it's actually going is that way. It might not be going that direction. It could be falling straight down, but this is the direction it's pointed. Does that make sense? Right. Because the engine could be off and it could be falling to its disastrous death, right? Or, you know, it could actually be flying this way with just the wheels out. You know, yeah, it could be VTOL, it could be vertical takeoff and landing, just like you said, Dennis. this is just direction in which the front of this is pointed, right? And it's also what we call the pitch angle and the yaw angle. They're all there, but this is called a Euler angle. So I just want to point out that's what that is. Okay, so that's that portion of this, right? Okay. And then we're going to get into what vector 3 and vector 3 right is. And then also there's this kind of total position. So what is the direction and where from the initial spawn position that it's going to be spawned from, which direction it's facing, and all that. That gives you back the angle. So everybody get that? Cool. All right. So it says here that I was actually supposed to produce an error. It did not produce an error because I did not use this anywhere. But let's see why they think that we should have produced an error. Maybe I did it right and they didn't like the fact that I did it right. Yeah, for whatever reason, it said that I should have an error, but I don't. So just gonna let that go. So we go back here and we've saved it. Or maybe we haven't saved it, we saved it. Take it back. Go back here, it is updating. And now I have this function available to me. Spawn potion. Everybody good with that? Okay, good, good, good. All right, so we're gonna keep moving. So now, if I want to, oh, I see why they say I should have had an error, because I didn't follow their steps exactly. Because in here, this radius is now undefined. So I should have had an error, but there wasn't one. So I'll go ahead and that was part of it, but I didn't have an error because I didn't build this in actual Visual Studio, so it had no problem with it until it will if I try to run it. So let's just make a kind of realistic radius, because that sounds kind of ridiculous. Maybe 7. Okay. So this would have errored out, would have bombed out if I tried to use this for real. Okay. I had to look back and try to figure out what it is they think was going to cause my error. Okay, so we're going to create now this spawn position. These spawn positions, the 15, 55, 95, and let's stick with a radius of 5. We're going to recreate those by using this function. So how do we do that? We got 55, 95, and 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because I want to keep some understanding of this one, I'm going to just comment those out so I can see these particular things still exist. And then I'm going to just delete the rest of this stuff. I don't need this. I do need to know that there is a direction that is going to be repurposed, so I need that. But I don't need the rest of this stuff. I need none of this. So I can get rid of this. I can get rid of this. Actually, I can get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. Well, why did I do that? Because I can use this function that we just created and get the same data out. And then once I'm done with these angles, I can get rid of that too. So the only thing I'm going to leave up here is this vector 3. Everything else is going away. Looks like a really empty function, but what did it give me? Now I can type in spawn potion, sorry. And now just put in the angle, 15. And semicolon. All right, and do that again. So instead of typing that again, I'm gonna go like that, that, and I'm gonna put in 55, 95, and 10. And now that I've done that, I can get rid of these. Same code. Yep, you can do that too. Thanks. Good reminder. Same code. And this. Same code. We're all good? All right, let's see this thing work. Don't take my word for it. So it should be, oh, compile error, uh-oh. Spawn position does not exist in the current context. Oh, no. Why doesn't it exist in the current context? Anybody know? Somebody said yes. Yes, then why? So you're saying if I take out the vector 3 spawn position, then what's going to happen? Calling vector 3 multiple times. Close. Ah, there we go. So spawn position does not exist except here. There we go. So looks like we got an answer. That was from you, Dennis, right? So if I could do this, then what happens? Does this work? There we go. So what do we demonstrate here? If you go back here, what did we change? And I'll put it back so you can see. What did we change to make this all work? If you create a variable like spawn position, and in here you don't, this function has no idea what that is that you put up there. None. You'd have to either pass that variable into this function, or you'd have to put this variable in this function in order for this to work. Okay? Inside of these curly brackets, it only knows about what you've passed into it, or what you've declared as an all-up variable. So a variable that lives outside of all these functions. So you could, create a variable as such, and then you have to change this void to something else, because what void does is it says don't accept anything but what comes in here. And we'll get into that. We're not there yet. Okay. So there we go. We have the vector, we have the spawn position, we have all the stuff we need. Everybody cool? Good. So I think I'm gonna reserve some time to help William, I believe. What's today, Tuesday? Do I have time to help you, William? William, let's Yeah. That is, you could have done that. You could have done, I could have just done this, declared vector 3. Let me copy that. I could have done this, and this would have worked the same way. I didn't do that. It would have worked the same thing. It would have worked. Okay. But yeah, absolutely. So William, I'm gonna have to text your mom and figure out when I can help you, because I do have another meeting. But just so you know, everyone, we are through most of their tutorials. So as far as this particular thing goes, I wanted to be a little bit further, slightly bit further, but so we tested our change. We know they worked. Steps complete. Excellent. So we actually are through that tutorial. So we're going to jump into classes. And can William and I stay on? Please don't end the meeting. Yes, you guys can stay on. If you, and who is yes, by the way? Put your name back to your student name, because
I'm pretty sure that's Jasiri.
Okay, Jasiri, don't play around. Put your name back to your student name, and this is your last warning for this entire class. I'm gonna have to kick you out of the class on the next warning. It's not gonna be a warning, it's gonna be a class, kick you out. Okay, and doesn't matter that I'm one of your uncles. Okay, all right. So no, you can't stay on, not today. All right, so we're gonna get into the next tutorial next time. Just know that we're gonna be talking about classes, class declaration, and all of that. So it is quite, this is new for a lot of you. So I do understand if you're not getting what's going on. Please don't let me convince you to fall behind and not, not keep up. So if you are lost in what we just did, then just reach out to me via email, and I can help you out with a little bit further information. And for those of you that this is not new, then bear with me, because in a couple of days, I'm pretty sure what we'll be doing will be new. All right, any questions? All right, I'll help you out, William, separately, and Holden, same thing. I'm going to look up information, and do me a favor, Holden, send me an email that I can respond to you on in the chat if you're still there. Got it. Thanks, Holden. And I see someone had a question. My mom said, how many weeks is this class? Total 6 weeks, right? And will a payment be needed at any point? Yes, you will have to make a game. That is the payment to me, is you will make a game that I'll want to play.
Bye, guys.
All right. We'll talk to you all soon. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.